try, but that's not quite right. Look at the green boxes for the correct answer. Good try, but that's not quite right. Look at the green box for the correct answer. Great job! That is the correct answer. Great job! That is the correct answer. In order to provide safe and respectful service to all individuals with disabilities, it's important to understand what a disability is and how we identify a person with a disability. Disability, as defined by the AODA, can be physical, how they move, or internal, how they perceive or communicate information. It can be visible or invisible to the eye, can require the use of an assistive device or service animal, and could have happened at birth, through illness, through injury. A brain injury. Select each image examples, although not a complete list, of different physical disabilities you may encounter when working as a vehicle for hire driver. You must select each image to continue. As you may know, not all disabilities are physical. There are also intellectual, learning, or mental disabilities you may encounter when working as a vehicle for hire driver. Many of these could also be referred to as invisible disabilities. Many disabilities can be identified because they are visible, such as someone who uses a wheelchair or mechanical device. However, approximately 70% of all disabilities are invisible and more difficult to identify. Many medical and neurological conditions can produce invisible disabilities. Examples of invisible disabilities include attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD, arthritis, brain injuries, chronic fatigue and/or pain, depression, diabetes, Down syndrome, epilepsy, gastrointestinal disease, learning disabilities, mental illness, and multiple sclerosis, or MS. An invisible disability can affect a person in many different ways. Some examples are poor balance, poor coordination skills, poor motor skills, low energy level, suffering pain, inability to walk or stand for long periods of time, inability or difficulty to read, write, or calculate, inability or difficulty to understand or process verbal information, poor concentration, difficulty with short-term memory, disruptive thought processes, moods, or behaviors, low social skills, difficulty coping with stress. Some customers with disabilities will be easy to identify. They may use a wheelchair, have a service animal such as a guide dog, or travel with a personal support worker. Some customers you will identify by the way they move. These individuals have visible disabilities. The following section will clearly outline the different mobility devices, service animals, and support persons, how these are used by customers with disabilities, the rules that apply to transporting customers with mobility devices, service animals, and support persons. So, what is an assistive device? An assistive device is any device that helps someone do something that they might not otherwise be able to do well or at all. This can include any medical device, mobility device, communication aid, or any other aid. Understanding the different devices and how they are used can help you provide the right service for each person. For example, this information can help you determine if you have the right vehicle, the best pickup or drop-off location, and what type of assistance you might be asked to provide. Wheelchairs are used when an individual has difficulty walking, or where walking is impossible. Some are moved by hand or battery. Others are for everyday activities or specific functions such as sports. Some fold up and others do not. Some individuals can get into the vehicle from their wheelchair, while others may need assistance.
Passengers in wheelchairs who require assistance are to be serviced using a wheelchair-accessible vehicle and by a driver who has completed accessible service training.
Walkers are used for stability. They come in different sizes and are used in different ways. Small walkers are pushed in front of the customer. There are large walkers where the person stands in the walker and can pull it. Like wheelchairs, some walkers fold and some don't. Other devices, such as respirators or portable oxygen supplies that help people with specific medical conditions. Some individuals with disabilities use guide dogs, service animals, or support persons to help them with everyday activities. This section will help you understand the different service animals and support persons that might help a person with a disability, and what your role is when servicing individuals who use them. Driver obligation. In the case of an exception, such as a severe driver allergy, the driver must provide another way for the individual to receive transportation, such as contacting another vehicle for hire driver. Good try, you almost made it. Correct answers are surrounded by a green box, and the incorrect answers are surrounded by an orange box. The AODA Customer Service Standard outlines the obligation of service providers to provide information in an accessible format or communication support that meets the needs of the customer. Most importantly, drivers must provide a positive and productive interaction. Don't make assumptions. Don't assume all individuals with the same disability want to be helped in the same way. For example, don't assume that all individuals with hearing impairments wish to communicate in the same way. Some may want to write things down, read your lips while speaking, or use a device. Ask how you can help with a specific task. This is important for both people with visible and invisible disabilities. Understanding what an individual's disability is doesn't necessarily help you identify the help they want to receive. Though individuals may have the same disability, they are all individuals and have their way of coping or accomplishing a certain task. Asking an individual what specific task you can help them with and how you can help them is a more effective way of providing great customer service. Communicate up front. Communicate any services, equipment, or features your company or you as a driver can assist with, and make accommodations for persons with disabilities. You can communicate this via websites, pen and paper, electronic devices, apps, signs, or name tags. For individuals with visual impairments, provide the written word in ways that individuals who can't read standard text can access it. Examples are Braille, large print, audio. For individuals with verbal or audio impairment, provide information to people who can't access verbal or audio information to receive it visually. Examples are sign language, lip reading, audio devices, telephones.
Carry a notepad and pen with you so you can communicate in writing if someone can't hear you speak or has difficulty with verbal communication.
As you know, effective communication is important for all individuals with disabilities, whether visible or invisible, and whether it's you as the driver or in service of your customer. It's important for you to understand that individuals give, understand, and receive information differently.
Consider these additional tips. If someone appears to have difficulty understanding you, simplify your speech. Use plain language. Speak slowly. Ask direct, yes or no questions. Give one piece of information at a time. If you are unsure whether you understand what a customer has said, acknowledge that you have heard them. If you're not sure you understood what they said, don't guess, repeat, or summarize the information and ask if this is correct. Be patient and give customers more time to respond. Respect a customer's personal space. Don't touch a person or their assistive device without their permission. For example, when assisting a visually impaired person, do not touch their cane and do not take their arm without asking first if that would be helpful.
Driver obligation. Work with the customer to find an effective way to communicate if one is not currently available. Nice try, but the correct responses are phone, braille, audio devices, and large print. Nice try, but the correct responses are sign language, lip reading, phone, writing devices, and hearing aids. Nice try, but the correct responses are audio devices, sign language, phone, and writing devices. Under the customer service standard of the AODA, a company's accessibility policies must outline how the company will communicate with customers who have disabilities. Though the following responsibilities are for the company, it is important for you, as the driver, to be aware of this information. Providers can start by making any written or multimedia information available using accessible formats or communication supports. Examples of this information include signs, advertisements, websites, menus, programs, forms, bills, and receipts. In addition to giving all customers access to information, providers must also ensure that all customers have positive and productive interactions with staff. Driver obligation. In cases where a provider cannot make information available through the format or support a customer needs, drivers must work with the customer to find a solution. To help ensure a safe and easy pickup and drop-off for individuals with disabilities, it's important to pick a location where the vehicle is safe from a possible collision and where it's safe for the individual to enter or exit the vehicle. Consider the following when parking your vehicle. If you regularly pick up the same passenger, have a routine. Changes in routine are often a factor in a collision. Ensure the surface where the individual will exit the vehicle is free from debris. Avoid busy areas with many cars and people. Avoid obstacles such as curbs, snowbanks, or puddles. Leave room to easily move a mobility device or service animal into place for the individual. Try to find a location that you can drive through and not have to back up. Turn on your hazard lights. Stop as close to the pickup or drop-off location as possible. Driver obligation. As a vehicle for hire driver for a conventional transportation company, you must ensure the following. Provide time for persons with disabilities to safely get in and out of your vehicle. Store assistive devices safely and carefully. Charge the same amount to a person with a disability as a person without a disability. Provide vehicle registration and identification information in a way that a person with a disability can understand. For example, providing it in Braille for a person who is blind. Allow the transportation of guide dogs, service animals, or support persons at all times with no extra charge. Provide a solution for the passenger if you are unable to accommodate the individual. What are my consequences of violating the rights of persons with disabilities? If you are found guilty of violating the rights of a person with a disability, the penalty will be a fine. For individuals, up to but no more than $50,000 for each day or part of a day the offense occurs or continues to occur. For corporations, up to but no more than $100,000 for each day or part of a day on which the offense occurs or continues to occur. People with disabilities are free to accept a reasonable risk of injury to themselves, just as other people do. Different individuals will have a different tolerance for risk. Risk should be weighed against any benefit for the person with a disability. I'm sorry, that is incorrect. Because your passenger travels the streets, manages the construction, and snowbanks without the aid of others regularly, you have incorrectly assumed that there would be a greater risk of injury today than any other day he would travel the streets.
Some clients with disabilities or medical conditions may have an incident while they are your passenger. "911 is the central emergency response number in Toronto for police, fire, and medical emergencies. Drivers may use their handheld device to call 911. Calling 911 in an emergency situation is allowed under Ontario's distracted driving laws. If a passenger appears in medical distress, call 911 and pull over to a safe location as soon as possible. You will need to report your location to the call taker. Do not hang up until that person tells you to do so. Let's look at a couple of examples of common medical situations and what to do if they happen while you are transporting a passenger. If a client has a seizure, it may be caused by epilepsy. A client with epilepsy may wear a medical ID bracelet, but these are not mandatory. Epilepsy Ontario advises to first, stay calm. Seizures usually end on their own, within seconds or a few minutes. If the seizure continues for more than a few seconds, steer your vehicle to safety and stop. Then, check to see if the person is wearing a medical ID bracelet and what information that might provide. Second, create a safe space. Move sharp objects out of the person's way. If the person falls over, place something soft under their head and roll them on their side as the seizure subsides. Third, time the seizure. Note when it begins and ends. Call 911 if the seizure lasts for more than 5 minutes. It repeats without full recovery between seizures. If consciousness or regular breathing does not return after the seizure ends. If the person appears injured or is pregnant. If you're not sure the person has epilepsy or a seizure disorder. When the seizure ends, stay with the person until complete awareness returns. Don't restrain the person, for example, hold them down or put anything in their mouth. People with diabetes may experience confusion and lose coordination if their blood sugar becomes too low. Most diabetics carry an emergency supply of sugar, such as candies or a beverage to consume when this happens. If a person in your vehicle becomes unresponsive, ask if they are diabetic and need help. If you cannot get a response, call 911 for medical assistance and pull over to a safe place to stop.
Emergency response and preparedness responsibilities for vehicle for hire companies. Emergency preparedness and response policy means being prepared and having policies in place for dealing with an emergency. An emergency is an event such as a snowstorm or flood that closes the road. Having a plan is important for everyone, but can be more complex for people with disabilities. People with disabilities need to have a clear plan of what to do or where to go in the case of an emergency. Transportation companies should have an emergency preparedness and response policy plan in place. Driver obligation. As a driver, you have an obligation to be aware of the company's plan and policies and what your role is in case of an emergency. The company should establish, implement, maintain, and document emergency preparedness and response policies that provide safety to persons with disabilities. Make those plans and policies available to the public. Upon request, provide those plans and policies in a format that meets the needs of the person with the disability. For example, Braille or audio for a person who is visually impaired. Now that you have reviewed the content of this module, let's take a moment to see what we've learned. Oh, good try, but that's not quite right. The correct answer is that it can help you determine the right service for each customer, and it can help you determine the best drop-off and pickup location for the customer with a disability. Great job! You can see 30% of all disabilities. Great job! The correct answer is amputation, brain injury, diabetes, visual impairment, blindness or some vision loss, hearing impairment, deafness or some hearing loss, mental health. Good try, but the correct answer is to provide the passenger with an alternative option for transportation. Well done! You have now completed Module 3 of the Vehicle for Hire training program. You may now continue on to Module 4.